Thank you to the Red Hot Chili Peppers for your rendition of our theme, and welcome to episode 16 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast, where we talk about the best Australian comedy show from the 90s ever made, The Late Show, and other D-Generation comedy tidbits. My name is Matt, and joining this podcast today is Alison, Daniel, Kim and Prue.
Hey there.
How are we all?
Yeah,
I've got a cold, but it's not the coronavirus.
I got to admit, at the time of this recording, we're just getting towards the end of our mandatory mask wearing. So it's been a lot of fun when you're trying to crack a smile to someone and you realise you have to smile with your eyes.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, so I now know how Melbourne people felt. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's get straight into it, shall we? And we've got a bit of everything before we actually get into the episode guide, so guess what? All right, I'm going to go straight into the competition, and this is the, what do you call it? Your best piss week quote competition, I guess. And it's a pretty piss week competition as well, and you get to have a piss week prize. But this is what we've got so far.
What's all that about?
I made love to her like a tiger.
Good day from Dominic. How are you?
Do you believe in mental telepathy? No, I hear you think.
I may be ugly, but at least I'll never be as ugly as an Angela Webber.
And now we can break the chain, and we've got a new entry. This is from Asmo.
No, I am not the man from the Where's Wally books. I'm tired of people walking up to me and saying, found you.
And him and a whole bunch of others are in for a quick prize pack, the Piss Week prize pack, which consists of the Ripper album, the Bar Jars or Lucky Girls cassette tape, the D-Generation Bumper Aussie Heroes book, Any Questions for Ben DVD, and the Fake Tan book. I keep looking down, they're on the floor next to me. So anyway.
And they're all collector's items too.
Yes, every single one of them. So all you have to do is hit up your entry, any quote at all that you want to do, champagnelateshow@gmail.com. And in fact, when Asmo sent that in, he was making sure it's the right email because he was a little bit flummoxed. So, yes. So,
and,
yeah.
I've decided I'm going to send in my copies of Utopia Series 1 and 2, which are still shrink-wrapped because I bought them for $1 each at the ABC shop at the Queen Victoria building during its last hours before it shut forever. That was the shop where I bought my Late Show cap, not my Late Show cap, my Late Show shirt. Never had a cap, unfortunately. So genuine place where lots of Late Show memories were.
Yeah.
They were selling everything off. Yeah, they were selling them all for $1. So I bought a few copies.
Oh, fantastic. So we're getting that as well. So make sure you do get your entry in, anything you want. In fact, there might be a few quotes later on in the show which you could record and try and enter as well. So, and I believe, Alison, you have some news, especially on a certain extra member that came in the second season.
Yeah, well, congratulations to Judith Lucy on publishing her third book this week, which is called Turns Out I'm Fine. And I haven't got a copy of the book yet, but I'm sure it's as good as her previous two. But just to note, really, she's doing the rounds of the interviews at the moment. She was on Conversations with Richard Feidler this week and Will Anderson's podcast, I think you said, Daniel, before we started.
Yeah, she's on the latest episode of Willosophy.
Great. So look out for Judith in the next couple of weeks promoting her book. And, of course, go and buy a copy, which I will be soon.
Yeah, I think she was doing a Q&A with, who wrote Up the Duff?
Kaz Cook.
Yeah, Kaz Cook. She was doing a Q&A with Kaz Cook at the Art Centre too.
Oh, that's great. Check that out. Now, we do have a bit of feedback as well. This is Twitter feedback. And the Twitter account of the show, 89.7 PAFM, says, and now I feel sorry for them because of what they've done here, and they've been listening to the pilot episode We've come a long way. This is episode 16. Yes. Oh. So listening to the pilot ep, in brackets, should be doing show prep, but I'm using your podcast as, quote, research, unquote. And someone pointed out that Tony Martin attended Myrtle Woods' funeral after, quote, she died. So it's just I guess, a certain way of, kind of like that whole Tony Abbott of dead, buried, cremated. Or buried.
Hang on, are we in pedantry territory?
Well, that's the thing that says reaches for the pedantry stamp.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was the person who said that. So, that is particularly pedantic, but it's a bit like when someone says 10 a.m. in the morning.
Or 8 p.m.
Yeah, it's wrong, but loads of people say it and you just end up saying it. So my apologies, my very sincere apologies.
I've never met anyone who doesn't say PIN number, and really, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Well...
Or naan bread. Naan bread. Don't need to say bread. It's naan equals bread.
Yeah. And I do apologise to the show, or PBA FM, for actually listening to the pilot episode. So we were very rusty back then. And
it'll only get better from there.
Yes. Yeah. The next entry is from a listener as well as a previous guest host, Mason Hellcat, who mentions in regards to episode 15 of the Red Hot Chili Peppers sketch, he believes that he may be the only one to think this, but he's pretty sure that Santo hadn't read or been involved in the writing of the Red Hot Chili Peppers dialogue that Mick did. So he was only there to feed Mick lines and reaction. So he says it works because it's seamless, but watch it again with that in mind and tell him if he's wrong. So there's some research for you. So if you...
Oh, that's very believable.
Yeah, so if you think Santo's just totally improv'd it, or so send him a tweet if you don't believe him, or if you are on his side, either way, he'll like to hear about it. Now, and we've got email feedback, and this one is from Stephen Plunkett. My apologies if I said your surname incorrectly. And he claims that we may have overdone the...
Never.
Impossible.
Out of the Plunkett.
I think he needs to be punished.
Yes, he does. And you know what? We're going to punish him by bringing him on this show as a guest reviewer. So look out for a future episode, Stephen. Sucked in, you're in. And you know what? Let's get this drumming out of the way.
Impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you to Daryl Summers for coming on today.
Oh, gosh. We're going to hold up your hands quickly. Let's make this stop now.
There we go. That
nice.
Yeah, had to get all that out of my system.
Yeah.
And one more, which is also David Asmo, who had entered the competition earlier. Now this one, it's a bit off topic. It's not exactly the Late Show, but it's a future project, I should say. In regards to, he says here, this is his email. Just a wee thing I saw. I was rewatching Frontline Series 2, Episode 13, and a prickly hated TV viewer gives some pretty bad views on Frontline. Now, his name is surely a coincidence, but in it combines Ross Warnicki and Tom Oliver, he believes. But he just wants to, put it out there since we do have a bit of Warnicki and Fidgen. Actually, Fidgen's not really a part of it.
And I don't think it was Tom Oliver. I think the real life reviewer was Robin Oliver. I think
Oliver. But
who wrote for the Sydney Morning Herald.
Yes, but I do actually have the quote that he's talking about.
It's little wonder Frontline is lagging behind the opposition. Host Mike Moore seems increasingly ill at ease, with many of his interviews lacking direction and focus.
Skip the bad bits, Marty.
I am.
What is this guy's problem? In 3 years he hasn't written one good thing about us.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Dom.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, everyone.
Did you see Oliver Ross's article in the Blue Guide this morning?
Come on, Marty. You know I don't read reviews. Any mail for me, Dom?
No.
The messages?
No.
Second day, no. Was there something about us in there, wasn't
Uh-huh.
there? Uh-huh.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's the general gist of it, though, Marty?
Oliver Ross, which would be Ross Warnicki and
Robin Oliver.
Robin Oliver, yeah. So that's a nice little Easter egg there that he's discovered in Frontline. He also says that the show, our podcast, has got him through some tough times. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
That's really good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Really?
At least at this point, we are definitely not flummoxed by that.
Well, put it this way: the podcast that you do eventually hear is a very short version of our actual recording. So we won't exactly say how long our recordings go for, but you get the non-Zack Snyder edit. So, yeah.
We started recording it in 1995.
So, that's it for the feedback. So if you do want to send us something, send us a tweet at TLS Champagne or send us an email, champagnelateshow@gmail.com, and go from there. Yeah, it's time for Daniel's program guide.
Okay, so we're looking at a critical guide to the weekend's TV. You know how you would get your copy of TV Week and it would be full of highlights and scribbles of people trying to work out what they wanted to watch for the week? Basically, this is what Ross Warnicki did every Saturday in the Age for their TV guide. So we'll start with Channel 7. Up against Season 1, Episode 16, they screened the 1983 adventure movie Lone Wolf McQuade. Writes Warnicki, Macho Chuck Norris plays a Texas Ranger pursuing the evil David Carradine, who hijacks U.S. Army weapons shipments and sells them to the commies. Mindless, unquote. Then over on Channel 9, now for some reason there were no guests listed for the Hey Hey episode for tonight, either on Saturday or in the previous Green Guide, so my assumption is they had absolutely no guests at all. Maybe even no audience. Maybe they were winging it for the whole 2 hours, I don't know. But after Hey Hey was the 1984 comedy Bachelor Party, starring Tom Hanks and George Grizzard. Yes. Ross Warnicki sums it up thus. Unhappy parents hire their daughter's former boyfriend to disrupt her fiancé's raunchy stag night.
Yes, that's an interesting film to watch when you're 12 years old.
And it was rated AO as well.
Yes, that's a future little sizzle thing.
Over on Channel 10, they had a double feature. First of all, at 8:30, they had Jaws 3 from 1983. Says Warnicki, there is no Roy Scheider in this thoroughly unexciting sequel set not in the ocean, but at Florida's SeaWorld Resort, where a great white menaces the owners of the aquarium. And that was followed at 10:30 by Jaws the Revenge from 1987. Yes. Says Warnicki, again, no Roy Scheider, but the widow of his character in Jaws 2, played by Lorraine Gary, believes her family is being picked off one by one by a vengeful shark. This third sequel is just plain stupid, unquote. Now, Warnicki may think it's stupid, but there are some people we'll find out next episode who think that this may be an undiscovered masterpiece of the cinema. So,
movies come and go, Daniel.
Over on SBS, they had a 1944 British black and white melodrama called Tawny Pipit, a lilting story of a man's efforts to protect the nesting place of two rare birds, starring Niall McGuinness. And finally, on the ABC, before the Late Show at 9:30 was the British sitcom Bread. Adrian is offered a job as a personal assistant to the new neighbour. Then 10 o'clock The Late Show, Ross Warnicki puts in up against that listing, quote, uneven Melbourne-produced live comedy show, which, I don't know, I think this episode might prove him wrong. I don't think there's much that's uneven about the episode we're about to talk about. And then after The Late Show, Order in the House, Ross Warnicki put in here, quote, highlights in quotation marks of the week in Parliament. That's followed at midnight by the Golf World Cup Day 2 highlights. Then at the very late time of 1:45 a.m, Rage featuring Simple Minds. And that's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, Daniel.
Yeah, no worries.
I should point out my partner always enjoys Daniel's roundup of what was on TV back then. I did mention that it was a shortened version. Sometimes we go on some tangents.
Yeah, there wasn't much to talk about apart from Jaws 4. But that's preempting stuff next week.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we might as well get into it, and it's time for a discussion on Season 1, Episode 16 of The Late Show, broadcast Saturday, November 7th, 1992. And we have the opening, of quite fancy opening, presentation of Christopher Columbus and the discovery of America, as narrated by Albie Mangles. Now, I will have to point out some
pedantry,
because I've noticed straight away that they spelt Mangles incorrectly, but I don't know if it's because of legal reasons or anything like that. So the correct pronunciation is Mangels. How they wrote it was Les.
And that's not the only typo. There's like 2 typos in the first 10 seconds. Because they also misspelled Christopher Columbus's surname as well.
Oh,
pedantry.
So instead of being COLUMBUS, it was COLO.
Oh, dear.
Well, that feels like a mistake. I was going to say maybe Albie Mangles was intentional, but I doubt it now.
There's no way Christopher Columbus, unless it's the film director, he might have wanted to sue. I don't know.
Other than a mashup of Albie Mangles and Christopher Columbus, yeah, we do have the opening of The Late Show, which runs as normal, and I'm just trying to buy some time because I need to load up this little sound effect.
Yo! Way to go!
Mick and Tony discussing Queensland's new tourism campaign slogan.
Yo! Way to go!
The 90s was very much the era of states deciding to go with these kind of cool and hip slogans. You might remember a couple of years after this, South Australia went with Going All the Way with SA. I'm sure you remember this one, Daniel. And no one realised what Going All the Way also meant. They very, very quickly had to change this, but I had completely forgotten about Yo, Way to Go, Queensland. So I'm assuming that was also fairly short-lived.
No, I still remember the beautiful one day, perfect the next, or rather a hotbed of corruption unrivaled anywhere in the Western world.
Did anyone remember Victoria's really sad one, which was a Penguin Vic coming on and going, tiddly woo? It was the
That's not a slogan. You can't put that on number plates.
But you've got nowadays the Northern Territory has CU in the NT, like with CU.
No, that's just a fake.
It sounds like a parody.
Although, mind you, apparently the people who were responsible for that Northern Territory one did just do a new one, which happened to coincide with April the 1st. Go down south with your mouth. Talking about food and wine, of course. Get your minds out of the gutter, folks.
Oh, well, other than the tourism campaign slogans, the US elections are over and you have Bill Clinton, who has been voted in. And, yeah, pretty much Mick complains that he doesn't like Clinton's saxophone. He could have used a piano accordion, which... You know, it kind of is a little bit disappointing because you know who we haven't heard of? We haven't heard of the Spaz family lately.
Yeah.
I've been missing the Spaz family.
Yeah. They're piano accordion royalty.
Yeah, we could have had Bill Clinton make a cameo and, be present in a very special episode of the Spaz family.
We should make our own just to continue. Do a reboot of the Spaz family. With that... Now, this is one of the early train wrecks of this episode, I guess, because they try to explain, well, Tony and Mick have this written out perfectly, but they're talking about how Shakespeare has been adapted into animated TV shows. So I'll let this audio bit explain.
Shakespeare's plays, they've taken a whole bunch of them and they've turned them into 30-minute cartoons for television. Now, it sounds like a dumb idea, but they're actually quite good, aren't they? Have you had a look
I was very impressed. I had a look at the animated version of Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
And that was fantastic. Romeo, how good was his performance, standing there at the bottom of the balcony, just looking up, going, Wilma!
love how they've got all those long speeches in Othello, the ones with Iago. They've just dropped them all, and now he's just standing up the back there going... I think that works much better.
The Battle of Agincourt. The Battle of Agincourt. Explain this. Was it Tom or Jerry who smashed Henry V over the head with a mallet, making his eyes pop out like that?
We've got 25 of these. And we're going to do every single one of them.
I think we've given the audience their Shakespearean treat for the evening, Tony.
So I can't do the thing about King Lear just going off his rocker and going... No. We're not going to get to that. We're done.
That has to be one of my favourite Tony lines, that we've got 25 of these. So it's like,
and later in the episode, they do them all.
Yes,
Stand
they
by.
come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I fully appreciated this when I actually had to study those plays, especially King Lear, if you just had to summarise that.
Do the animated plays actually exist, or was that a thing that was just a bad news report, a funny spot in the age?
I've got no memory of them at all, and I would have thought it's the kind of thing we'd have watched at school at the time, you know?
Yeah, surely.
Deal was with those.
I don't remember exactly which version it was, but there was the only one. It wasn't a cartoon, but of Romeo and Juliet, which I watched in high school, and it was one where Juliet ended up getting her norgs out. So.
That's the Zeffirelli.
Is it?
That's the Zeffirelli one. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was made in the early 60s or something.
Yeah.
And they, both Romeo and Juliet were like 16 years old actors or something.
Oh.
Yeah. We watched that at school as well.
Yeah, it was the girl from... Sorry, not girl. The woman, the actress from... God, what's her name? Turkey Shoot.
Yeah. In Turkey Shoot. She goes on to do Turkey Shoot.
Olivia Hussey.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yep.
Olivia Hussey, yeah.
Oh, what an unfortunate surname.
Yeah, so Charles and Di's marriage are on the rocks, and that's a given. And Mick's advice to Di is to turn that frown upside down. And we're introduced to Mick's love line.
Lingering French kisses, steamy Latin embraces, and even steamier Dutch ovens. I do them all.
A favourite during Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we loved this when we were in high school, and a couple of my friends had a crush on Mick, and I remember asking them, if this actually existed, would you call this number? And, oh, yes, I definitely would. I would just love to listen to Mick on the love line. But all those really hilarious lines, like the firecracker in the sack, and then that shot of him, I'm assuming he's by himself.
If they were there, they would have been pummeled to a pancake.
This is one of those rare episodes that I actually had on tape before the summer of 92 when they did the best bits of the first season, and then I taped them all and I never stopped. But like I only had about 3 episodes on tape, and this is one, and I feel like it's one of those ones where you know every bit off by heart, like, you know, Holy Grail or something. Yeah. Anyway, I was fascinated with that whole go off like a firecracker in the sack because, and kudos to my 16-year-old self, I'm like, whoa, is it really like that? Like a trampoline. This guy was like coming in from a 10-metre launch, just bouncing up and down. And I was like, whoa.
That is a very poor reflection on the sex education classes you had at school.
Yeah. We had to watch Puberty Blues in our sex education class. I think the firecracker in the sack is a big upstanding from that.
Didn't you have like Happy Healthy Harold the giraffe?
No, we're too old for that. Too old for that.
That's my era.
Maybe you needed some Norgs Out Shakespeare.
Yeah. Norgs Out Shakespeare. Well, what you could have done, Prue, is you could have called 00557107, which is the actual phone number for Mick's Love Line, and he maybe explained it to you.
Was there a money rate on that? Because I remember those 0055 numbers used to be like $11.70 a minute or something. Yeah.
Well, for some, it would have been worth it if you get to talk to Mick. He's driving his monster trucks, and the Dutch ovens was just a classic. Like, I don't think I knew exactly what that was at that age, but when obviously I knew what it was when I saw it, so I think that's how I learnt what they were.
Am I alone in when I go round kitchenware shops and I see an actual Dutch oven, as in like sale, I slightly snigger at it?
No, not alone.
All right, so news desk with Tommy G, and I'm not going to use the drums because I'm all drummed out now. And you have US President George W. Bush graceful in defeat, and there's footage of Bush on the podium and a knifing a photo of Clinton. And you have Anglonian Neighborhood Watch gets out of hand, and they show footage of the militia with guns surrounding apartments. So this is a lot of visual stuff. And Russian Vice President named international politician most in need of a hairpiece. And it's got one hell of a comb over. Now, the other one is Brisbane man chosen to be part of the Late Show studio audience, and they show footage of a protester being taken away by the police, which that one was quite funny. So they got a big laugh out of the audience.
Did you notice that he had a Joe Busters T-shirt on?
Yes, I did.
And I remember Tony Martin talking about that.
It was stretched quite taut over that considerable gut as well.
Yeah, no, I remember Tony talking about that in an interview or something, and he said that when he lived in Brisbane, he'd actually seen someone be arrested because they had a Joe Busters T-shirt on. Like some corruption up there at the time.
So here we go. And America has a new president, Bill Clinton. And throughout, this is 1992, people, so when you listen, so, yep. Throughout the campaign, he fought off accusations he was unfaithful, and that's where they start playing grabs of other bits and pieces, such as being an Gus Mercurio impersonator, and it was just Bill losing his voice. And that joke didn't go anywhere. And also being a crappy saxophone player. And George Bush admits defeat alongside Barbara Bush. Now, this is a very clever usage of a bit of a news clip, really, because they say that the supporters were offering advice, splice in footage of crowd members showing holding a sign showing your flag is too small, and then Barbara acknowledging it. That was a quick little visual joke, yeah.
She was like, what's that? Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was sort of waving off the camera and sort of like mouthing the words thank you and nodding. Like, it was very convincing.
Yeah.
It's the sort of die you old bag joke again, but that's okay. It's still funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also Ross Perot, poopy pants, was up to his old tricks. Dancing with his wife, dancing with his daughter, and dancing with reality. It's him holding a shovel. And Perot entertained the crowd with various bits.
I've got a theme song for our campaign. And here it comes. Just listen to it. So people got...
I was wondering what the heck that Randy Newman song was replacing. That because then in the footage, Ross Perot just gives this big belly laugh, which sort of sells the replacement song there. But I'm wondering what the original would have been.
Well, according to his campaign song from 1992, Ross Perot had "Crazy" by Willie Nelson.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. But then again, it's Wikipedia, so you take whatever you want with a grain of salt. So
yeah, maybe
and Ross Perot wanted to win with that?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And yeah, Bill had Don't Stop, and This Is the Moment. Had two of them. So, but then again, we find out later on the Bill Clinton one later on in the episode. So British PM John Major is having a bad week. I guess this one you got a kick out of, didn't you, Alison? Because I'm only saying this because I'm stereotyping you. You're in the UK.
It was funny.
Well, yeah, everyone enjoys a John Major joke, and there were jokes aplenty about John Major at the time.
Like the bit about does he have a moustache or not?
That's a recurring joke, which is always enjoyable. Yeah,
I think the line I've always most enjoyed about that Tony's John Major song was he looks like a bloke who should be out spotting trains. Because he does. He really, really does.
But they were also pointing out the fact that he had to walk across the road because the microphones were in the wrong place.
Press aid put them on the wrong side. Yeah, I like that.
But the Mormon...
It was a bloody long walk to the microphones.
Yeah. But him being stopped by two Mormons outside of number 10 was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Now, Prime Minister Keating complaining about TV showing too much sex and violence. And he wants the old classifications updated. So you have the originals.
Oh, there's G for general exhibition, PGR for parental guidance recommended, or AO for adults only. And then obviously there are some revised ones. which is OTS, odd tit shot. And then you can BLP, beware lifestyle program.
Yes, please.
They were spreading like wildfire in the early 90s lifestyle programs, so I completely understand why they were so frustrated.
Like reality
Yes.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
exactly.
we need a BRP. But I'm assuming this is when we went from AO to like M15 plus and R rated. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still can't watch the Australian Open without thinking of adults only.
Yeah, I prefer AO. That's funny.
It wasn't just the kind of letters that they had. They also added all those extra things like, occasional nudity and sort of foul language or whatever. And so you had like, M rated or whatever, but then it would have this long list of all the bad things in it, so it got increasingly complicated, sort of those classifications.
So, military news, and women in defence forces will be allowed to serve in the front line. And test results were Jane scanning for mines a la vacuuming. This one is very cringeworthy. Even Tommy acknowledges it. And also Jane acting like a flight attendant on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Tommy says is don't spend the entire afternoon doing crappy military sketches, is what he says. So, yeah.
Yep.
And all this reminds me of is the sketch back from episode 6 where there was the first female member of the Reserve Bank Board, which was sort of similarly, again, it was sort of trying to, it was sexist, but it was trying to say that those people over there are sexist, not the writers of the sketch. And
I think it's okay, though. I think it's appropriate. Like, I remember asking the Navy, can I join the Navy? Probably around this era, really. And, they said, here's a brochure, and they circled one thing. It was cook.
Oh.
So, sketch is like Navy.
Wow. All right, well,
hopefully we have come a hell of a long way since then.
I hope so. Yes.
Well, just look at what's happening in federal parliament. We can see how much Australia's progressed.
Oh, gosh.
Now, Robert De Niro has been cleared of a paternity case, and he's not the father of a 10-year-old girl. And that one's on the Best Bits DVD, where it's just Robert De Niro looking tough, wearing pigtails. Photoshop pigtails. And you have in Iran, Muslim extremists raise bounty on author Salman Rushdie. And Rushdie does not know why they want him dead and denies it has anything to do with his new book. Which then the camera cuts to a really awkward written piece saying, hey, Iran, go and get,
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Very well chopped into the real footage, though.
Yeah, because of Salman actually going through a book, so got to say that. And a finger certainly placed over a certain letter of a certain word.
And you can see the glee in Tom's eyes that he's managed to get away with getting just up to the line of the AO rating. That he's managed to almost get the F word on screen.
Yeah.
Intentionally this time, not on the pages of a Madonna book accidentally.
Episode 15, people. You got to listen to that. Yep. Product recall. Mistral fans are recalled as they are faulty, and Tommy G demonstrates after he tries to start the fan. It catches the light, and he goes, "Yep, it's faulty because it stands a bit wobbly." Now, this one, this is the time when we all had, my family had a Mistral fan, and when they gave off a couple of serial numbers, they're saying destroy it, and that's when we took it out the back and did Office Space style and took it out.
Did you kind of blow it up repeatedly as in this sketch?
Yes. Well, it was a bit wobbly, so we did have to put it down as humane as possible.
I suspect, based on what Tom says at the end of this sketch, that Aaron Beaucaire went a bit nuts in terms of, blowing the fan up multiple times.
It's a very, very funny explosion, isn't it? It's almost like one of those Roadrunner, like Acme dynamite things going, it just sort of goes, on fire, even a bit more explosion, and then the final sort of fiery ball. And I can't believe they did this in front of a live studio audience.
Imagine the heat.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it actually succeeded as well, because I'm assuming it worked first time. There was no second time.
No,
well, see, in in the opening introduction, Tony and Mick remarked that there's no couches on the set. And I think considering the 7 or 8 unexpectedly big explosions, that's the reason why there's no couch on the set. Because that would have just gone
Highly
up in
flammable.
flames if any of the sparks caught it alight.
Now we've got the sport and the Spring Racing Carnival climax, Stupid Hat Day. Late entry winner from Moscow. And they show footage of Boris Yeltsin. So there you go.
They were truly hideous hats that they culled from the actual footage from the Spring Racing Carnival, though. I'm not much of a follower of fashion, but I'm pretty sure the millinery nowadays is a lot more muted.
It was pretty wild millinery there. Like, it was amazing.
Now, this one, they happen to do it very quickly, where they gone straight from the news desk and then suddenly have everything set up for this sketch, which is US President Bill Clinton, newly elected, coming into the studio with all the streamers and bells and whistles and everything to, Fleetwood Mac's Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow.
Yeah, and all of that stupidly long entrance gets cut out of the DVD version, basically because they didn't want to pay Fleetwood Mac, I suppose.
Yeah, Bill Clinton is Rob and Jane plays Hillary.
Do you notice who some of the Secret Service people are? Obviously, you've got Jason and Santo, but also Mark Gibson, the producer of The Late Show, is one of the other Secret Service men.
Yeah.
So you can spot him as well. He had a previous cameo in the program a couple of weeks ago. This is great. It's really spectacular how they kind of come through the audience, and the audience have all got kind of Clinton Gore banners and stuff. It's really well done.
And there's plenty of jokes about womanising, applauding midway through. Sentences and Coke versus Diet Pepsi.
Yeah.
And he promises no more Police Academy films. So I can't believe you've got that sound. I can't believe you have that.
Sorry?
Yeah.
I'm full of sound bites tonight.
Clinton didn't try hard enough because there was one more sequel after 1992.
Yes, there was.
Mission
to Moscow.
Mission to Moscow.
There was also, because again I looked this up, there was also a syndicated TV series of 26 1-hour time slots in 97, 98 as well.
Yep.
And there's also the threat that there'll be an 8th movie, but that's been in development hell for quite a long time.
Clinton sees himself as a president in the style of JFK, and then he gets shot at. And then he goes, no, wait, Jimmy Carter. And then there's also how he keeps losing his voice, so he will do his policy speeches via...
Mr. President,
saxophone.
are you suspicious of EEC trade policies?
It's a great moment because there's so much corpsing after that, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to hang on to this one.
I like the bit where he looks into the kind of mouth of the saxophone to check what's wrong.
He brings it back by grabbing sort of Jane's arm and just sort of making the crowd. Oh, you know how I'm always awful about the audience? I would have to say this is one of the greatest Late Show audiences because later they're so good in this sketch, they really make it. And later they actually sing along to Mud.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah, you can see that in the background.
Stay tuned.
And they did the laugh.
I just wanted to props to the audience because they're amazing in this sketch, and I think they make it really great.
Yeah,
especially when they laughed mid-sentence and they actually got that right. The timing was perfect.
Yeah.
So, and he'll be the first president since JFK to bring sax back into the White House. So, that's all the...
Again, how prophetic was that, considering all the stuff that was to come,
Other than Clinton being in the house, you have the commercial of over-the-top chemistry set. So, and this is an Aaron Beaucaire specialty.
Again, I remember because I didn't have any other episodes on tape around this time, I remember watching this and going, where are all the other over-the-top segments because they look so amazing. You know how you only ever got small snippets of it, you know, like Tony falling over a couch or something, and you know, and I was so intrigued, like I want to see all the over the tops. This one's really great, but it doesn't have them in it.
No,
so
it's just the kids.
You got these kids.
They're not even piss weak kids. They're just kids.
Proper actors.
Yeah. And do you have the list of what they had in the chemistry set? Anyone?
They can make LSD. They can do things with plutonium. Basically, everything from drug making to full-on nuclear war and anything else you can imagine that you could potentially make with a chemistry set. So this is probably one of the most foolhardy and dangerous chemistry sets available to small children.
But only if you're over 25.
Also, there's one of the most disturbing props ever made in this sketch. The mustard gas. Which it's this sort of mustard-coloured fog coming out of the arse of a stuffed dog that's sort of lying down on a bench. It's
a glorious artist piece. That's what it is.
Who thinks about that? And then somebody has to construct that.
Mustard gas dogs should be in Mona.
Yeah, it's the only chemistry set with a half-life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was actually, because my boss brought this to my attention during April Fool's, but there was a toy called the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Laboratory, which is actually a radioactive toy lab. You could watch nuclear and chemical reactions using radioactive material. But yeah, you can Google it and you'll find out. It doesn't seem... It's one of the top 10 dangerous toys of all time. So maybe this was modelled on... on
Did it come out in the 90s?
Energy lab. Oh, it was in 1950. So when people didn't know any better.
Yeah, right.
Now it's to the lounge, and Tommy G, he confesses that he hates musicals. And so this whole concept now is if his life was based around a musical. Or a musical based on his life, really, because he has the most boring life. He bags out Andrew Lloyd Webber because he's obviously riding on the fame of Phantom of the Opera, Cats, and I guess because of what's going on with, at the time, Jesus Christ Superstar. And, it's just musical central during 1992. What he wants to do is he just wants to do his day-to-day activities, such as having breakfast, and then, bam, they bring out the singers for that one, as well as checking the mailbox.
Oh, that is such a great performance by Rob as the postie. He really leans into that one. I love it.
Yeah, I love when he says wedding invitation and kind of nods knowingly like you're going to have a good part-time, and then he just goes on about gas bills and opening the mail.
Can I point out one thing with when he's getting a liter of milk? I have to give credit to Jane because I've got a sample here of her singing. She's a really good singer.
He walked into the milk bar. He looked me in the eye. He said, I'll have some milk, please.
Yeah.
A liter of fresh milk, please. I said, would you like low fat or soya?
No, just regular.
He said, no, I just like regular.
Yes.
He paid me and I gave the milk to him. Would you like a bag with that?
Yeah, she's amazing. This is probably pre-auto-tune, isn't it? Like, this is legit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, everybody else is pretty much miming to some other singer.
No, it's amazing. And it's a very, very funny... first of all, can we comment on how elaborate the set is for this musical? And it obviously took them a while to produce because wasn't this the set that Julian Clary appeared on in the previous week's episode?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But, like, there are some really great songs in this. Obviously, they're rip-offs of, ALW.
So the first one where they're making toast is a stylistic parody of the Phantom of the Opera. Checking the letterbox was Music of the Night from the same musical. The Milk Bar one, I think, might have been All I Ask of You, which is also from Phantom, I think. I couldn't work out what the next one, which is taking the clothes off the washing line, what that was a parody of.
Neither can I.
That's all well and never was there ever a cat so clever as magical mist.
Cats.
See, I've never seen Cats. Not even the third of that movie version. So.
Oh gosh, I went there with my child, so I actually have seen it at the movies.
I've seen that film as well, and it's very, very bad film.
I'm glad that you all have experience in musicals because I only knew that Phantom of the Opera one.
What about the Jason one? I am the gas man. Rack off.
Oh, I think that's a Jesus Christ Superstar.
So cruelly cut off. But yeah, this sketch must have taken weeks because, you know, they've got to write the kind of sound-alike songs, they've got to record them all, and then they've got to film themselves rhyming to it, and they've got dancers and elaborate sets. And yeah, this must have taken days and days of their time to do this. And the result is pretty good, I think, considering it's obviously done on a fairly low budget.
And also, I think the comedy in that going to buy the litre of milk one is great. Like, I love the way, like, the chemistry between Tom and Jane is just magic, isn't it? It's like, no, I didn't. I didn't look you in the eye.
And also putting out the bins, that was Jesus Christ Superstar, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a truckload of dry ice.
Yes. So, speaking of musicals, this is the best, as you mentioned earlier, Prue.
We come from Cooper's Crossing and Darwin in the south. From the dusty plains of Innisfail to the Murrumbidgee's mouth. Through bushfires, snakes and tinea, drizzle, drought and flood. None of those will hold them back when someone cries out mud. Oh, mud, boys, mud. We'll give our sweat and blood. Though our backs may break, our beards are fake, we'll all pretend the sex don't shake. Mud, boys, mud. We'll deck them with a thud. Fires may burn, the fires may drench, but we'll still have a buxom wench. And keep on shouting mud.
Awesome.
So great.
Unprompted.
Yeah, I love that so much. They must have given them an extra serve of West Coast Cooler in the because this audience is.
I had a vision of like Annie Marver with the lyrics on one of her big cards and just kind of pointing along, and they all have to follow the lyrics or something. But maybe
I get the feeling that it's just off the cuff, like they're into it. Yeah. Love it.
Credit to the audience. The audience have won this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is episode 16, The Bad Acting Epidemic of 1852. And the Mud Diggers are playing Snap at the bar. So that was best snap player in the Mudfields. And so the loser. So I love that one. That's one of my favourite. Quick joke, bam's gone. The loser player claims the winning player can't stage an unconvincing fight scene. So this is where they've just gotten, I guess, footage of random shit that's going on and thinking, how the hell can they piece this all together?
It's so great, this scene. It's like, you know, they didn't even really need to write for this particular bit because the unrealistic fight scene is what it says on the tin. Like, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. And all you really need to do is just play the scene and watch it for what it is. It's terrible. It's like people just throwing themselves across the room for no
apparent reason.
Yeah. Absolutely no contact with anyone.
But I love it when the police show up and Sergeant Alden with the police sirens going off. And Sergeant Alden's just telling him, like, look what you've done. You better tell him Alden. And then Nolan Donner is Ma Alden, really? I mean, Jane. Telling him the bad news that, you know, they've triggered Front Bottom to overact in the next scene. Yeah, this is just all about Front Bottom being accused of bad acting, and he's really, really, really upset about it. And then it cuts to a whole bunch of and people falling asleep, I should say, too. So, and then there's also two out-of-towners who come in and realise that they want to be part of the show. You know, oh, this is where they filmed in the olden days. So.
and then cut to a sign that's been spliced in there. A false moustache is preferred.
That was my MySpace profile image for a long time.
Oh, MySpace.
Yeah. And then, Terence Donovan. I guess they just noticed Terence Donovan being in the show and they go, how the hell can we use him?
I know, we'll read out his resume.
And the funniest parts of it.
Glenview High, Holiday Island, Taurus Rising, Kings. Are you being served down under?
Wow.
And they also try not to mention his 7-Eleven ads.
Which I have no memory of, but I need to see immediately.
There is one that exists on YouTube if you type in Terry Donovan 7-Eleven.
I'll be doing that later. Thank you for that.
Like it's him in a suit walking through 7-Eleven getting snacks and saying that they're open for the Melbourne Cup holiday.
He must have been paid a pretty penny.
This is probably the start of the Jeff Kennett lifestyle with everything open anytime on Sunday.
But I tell you what, Terry acted the shit out of that advert.
Well, the two strangers wanted a scene in the olden days, and he goes, I just got you in, gentlemen. Frontbottom changes his ways of making people fall asleep while acting, so he gets the guy who lost at the snap game as a bit of a test run.
From now on, I'm speaking only in the language of today's youth. Comprende, Daddy-O? How they hanging, my dude? Far out, Brussels sprout. Having trouble with the fuzz? Then chill out, homeboy.
I love that one, far out Brussels sprout. Like, how dated is that? How dated is that one now? Like, I sometimes say that to my kids and they just like run a mile. Like, who are you? What are you saying?
And how white as well.
Yeah, there is something about having all of those much more futuristic sayings being said in that English accent. It does remind me of the sketches which came much later by Armstrong and Miller of those two World War II pilots who talk in slang, but in very clipped English accents.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's also got my favourite line in, which is, "Cat got your tongue, eh?"
All right. Now it's time for Countdown Classics, and Jane and Tom are dancing to Dan Hartman, instant replay. I don't have any grabs for this segment because, they'll be struck down by copyright here.
Yeah, especially if they're just one-hit wonders. They just got to make sure they get all the royalties they can get.
Exactly.
We'll see, point of contention, maybe even a bit of pedantry here.
Pedantry.
I don't think Dan Hartman's a one-hit wonder.
I'm
pretty sure he had I Can Dream About You in 1984.
Oh,
I can dream about you if I can't hold you tonight.
I think a one-hit wonder is still classified as a one-hit wonder if they only have, 2 songs or something, but they don't actually have an album and then a follow-up, that's still a one-hit wonder.
Yeah,
I'm saying that
it's sort of
who's fan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Instant Replay and I Can Dream About You are separated by about 5 years. But, I mean, I think Instant Replay, got into the top 10 and I Can Dream About You was number 3, so...
Yeah, you're right. Oh, that is pedantry.
Pedantry.
Oh.
But still, Instant Replay, it's an absolute banger, I gotta say. So I don't mind that they started Countdown Classics with it. And also with that voiceover as well, saying coast to coast from rock to pop, and we're back, and it's 1979, and
the view's magnificent. You'll bar up.
I was surprised we didn't hear that, but it just absolutely sets the mood for this segment.
Yeah,
I think that all of these songs are bangers, really. Even the Eurovision, the Brotherhood of Man one. What was that?
Kisses for me.
That's a great song.
Well, here's the list, and we can discuss it. So we've got Roger Voudouris, Get Used to It. Brotherhood of Man, Save Your Kisses for Me. And with the lead singer being an absolute hornbag. Martin Lee. And they're still active too. Bertie Higgins, Key Largo. Starland,
who's described by Tom as a white-suited buffhead.
Starland Vocal Band, Afternoon Delight. Oh, and the lead singer, Bill Dandoff, yeah, doesn't he look like a stud muffin? Joe Dolce, Shut Up Your Face, and Harpo Movie Star. Yeah, those songs are straight up from the classic hit station.
Definitely. Yeah, they still get a run.
There was another Sylvania Waters ribbing in the Countdown Classics right at the very end.
Oh, and also, I need to mention a COVID-safe trigger that Tom did, where he does the Roger Vaduris blowing Jane's face with his own breath. I was like...
Yes. Yeah. Nowadays you're like, oh, please don't do that.
Well, after Countdown Classics, we've got the sketch, a very popular one at that, and that is the Mr. Whippy Grand Prix. And you have the 5 races. You have Soft Serve at number 1, Mr. Yummy at number 2, the Cone King at number 3, Choc Top at number 4, and Happy Gelati at number 5.
Which ones were you all going for? Choc Top, of course, right?
I was more of a Con Hulos man myself.
What?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, all the names they're a bit stereotypical. Let's put it. Con Hulos, Tony Doprano, Chris Apostolou, Zico Triptych, and the Christopoulos brothers. Gee, I wonder which countries they all come from.
But it's true.
Which I didn't realise that was a stereotype that was put towards Greeks and Italians. Yeah.
Let's just say that Santa.
Not a bad one, I suppose.
Well, it's one of the most popular sketches, and that gets requested randomly to us. We don't have control over that. Okay, so that's not us. Yeah, and then when it does get released or up on YouTube, ABC shuts it down.
Oh,
yeah,
it's such an amazing sketch because what an enterprise. You know, to find all those Mr. Whippy vans and then probably go down those Phillip Island track.
8 vans there.
Yeah, just do all this amazing stunt work. It's incredible.
Do you notice when there's the big crash where one of the Mr. Whippy vans crashes into a bunch of signs? The signs are advertising the following late show things. So you've pest control. Yeah, so one of the signs is over the top pest control. Another one is True Blue service stations. You might remember that a few episodes. There was that True Blue. And I think, and I couldn't quite see it, but I think the final one is Slack Ass Mechanics.
Oh, that's an Easter egg. I've never noticed that.
Yeah, look out for it.
I saw that going through the frame advance on the DVD, and it was just watching this again for the podcast that I noticed that. Great little Easter egg.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, I might as well just rattle off what everyone knows about this with this sketch anyway, such as Barry being in the pits and a team manager for the soft serve, Vince. Team disqualified because they were meant to play Greensleeves, dun, 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 but they played Led Zeppelin's 3. And
much preferred.
Yep. And safety flags are out as there's Gelati on the track. During the Mr. Whippy cam, the Choc Top crash was replayed and a pizza delivery car ran him off the track. So, and soft serve nearly wins, but the lollipop lady slows him down and Mr. Yummy won. So, Mr. Yummy being number 2.
Damn, I've lost my bet again. Jeez. We also get another Annie Marva cameo here, according to the DVD commentary. That's Annie's car as the pizza delivery car that caused the crash, with Annie riding in the passenger seat.
Oh, fantastic. She delivering a Papa Luigi's pizza. And we're back to the stage with Mick still going on about Shakespeare and Looney Tunes cartoons where he just won't let go.
Just once, I wish Macbeth could catch that roadrunner.
No, just leave it, Mick. Just leave it. Although I like the thing about the witches being played by the Hair Bear Bunch.
No,
just leave it there. We'll leave it there. Now, look, did you see this footage during the week of Saddam Hussein? He went out, when he heard the US election result, he went out to the street and fired off the gun because he's lasted longer than Bush, he says. Now, you are our only Gulf War veteran on this program, and does it bring back a lot of painful memories? 2 years since the Gulf War?
Yeah, there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of anguish, Tone.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Pain and anguish.
A lot of pain and a lot of anguish.
You're just remembering the Shakespeare thing from the intro.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more.
The Gulf. Save them.
Othello.
Dun, dun, Desdemona. We'll leave it.
Pain and anguish.
Pain and anguish.
That's my favourite. Meet our fellow.
Me too.
So, yeah, this is pretty much the introduction to street theatre.
Yeah, the 1992 Street Theatre Awards, and I should mention this is on the Bargearse and Olden Days DVD, and thankfully you don't have to go searching through the Easter eggs to get it. It's in the section marked "Where's me bloody extras."
Well, there you go. So the pretty much a rundown of what you need for your own street theatre. You have you need an Uncle Sam, which is played by Rob. The skeletons, Jason and Jane play the skeletons in very tight-fitting clothing or costume. I will point out this one bit here.
Thanks for coming along tonight. Is this a full-time job for you? Or?
No, I'm a model for posters. You may have seen the one of me sitting on the dunny.
Oh, that's a great... You see on the back of the toilet door? It's a cat. Gets me every time.
Jeez,
Nice
what is she
throwback.
referring to? Episode 1.
Get down to the newsagents and check out the poster rack. And it's a time-honoured tradition, Tone. That's looking chock-a-block, that one, Mick. And care to make any predictions as to what we'll find when we take a look inside? Well, not exactly going out on a limb here, but I'd say Marilyn Monroe's going to be in there, isn't she? Let's just say the piece de resistance, the one we know for sure is going to be in there, the skeleton on the toilet.
It all links.
Yeah, exactly. This is like an Easter egg episode. Before Easter eggs existed.
And yeah, you're right about Jason and Jane looking a bit sort of exposed in those tight-fitting skeleton costumes, because I noticed Jason sort of got his hands sort of in front of his groin, like he's trying to cover something up, and we only ever see him from head to toe in sort of a very medium shot, and sort of any close-up shot, it's almost like Elvis Presley in that it's only from the waist up.
So, yeah, and you also have Santo as the Grim Reaper, and you also need the wild card, the Peter Pan, which is Tom Gleisner. So
Looking so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the lead up to this podcast, I made the image of Peter Pan, Tom Gleisner, the Facebook page thing, just as a little
Yeah, I saw
nugget.
that little. There was an Easter egg for the Easter eggs.
Exactly, yeah.
And the audience was reading out various prompts. Nuclear Armageddon, also known as a typical night on the Steve Izard program.
Rob as Uncle Sam sort of throwing imaginary, explosions and capitalism and just, being general evil. Although to me, he looks more like latter-day Billy Connolly in that getup.
He does a bit, yeah.
And then the skeletons choking themselves, and the Grim Reaper just sort of looking menacing, and Peter Pan, Tom Gleisner just again not cracking a smile and just standing awkwardly.
Yeah. And then after they do all that performance, then Tony and Mick present the 1992 Toxie Award for the Excellence in Street Theatre. And these are your nominees. You have the terrifying collapsing girls from the Avalon Airshow protest.
Who we've seen before in the news desk.
Yes, we have, yeah. The brilliantly satirical baseball game from the US bases demonstration. The hauntingly observed frightened wallaby from the Tasmanian logging protest. And that was creepy, that costume.
Yeah.
Yeah. The moving and poignant Edelston Medical Clinic protest with guest appearance from the Daffy Doctor. Overwhelming sense of impending doom felt by all who witnessed the caged chickens at the Meet His Murder rally. And the winner was the caged chickens.
This whole segment makes me really miss student street theatre. Like, it's not so much a thing anymore. It's more pure rage.
Well, Extinction Rebellion, though, they do quite a lot of street theatre stuff. It's a different style, though. They have those kind of, who are those people who dress up in red and they kind of dance around? They don't sort of act out scenes anymore. It's more kind of coordinated dress up things that they do.
Yeah, like we still have protests, but there doesn't seem to be a theatre element. And I was thinking of Extinction Rebellion when they were talking about the theatre of it. Well, the last thing they did, I think it might have been a couple of weeks ago in Adelaide, was to sort of blockade an intersection and dance around. And like the week before that, a few people glued themselves to the road, and like even that, there's not that much theatre about it. There was certainly no, inexplicable character standing nearby.
Yeah, like what does Tony say? what was Santa up to there?
Well, yeah, that was in the winner of the 1992 Toxie Award was the caged chickens, and it was pretty much because there was a completely inexplicable Santa Claus.
Basically, whatever costume they have down the $2 shop, just grab it.
See, this is where Extinction Rebellion's gone wrong. They don't have their inappropriate Santa Claus.
No.
There we go. Get on it.
So, straight after the street theatre stuff was street interviews. And this is one of the most popular street interviews done. And in fact, Kim, you might have some stuff to do with this as well, because this is all about the best dressed and worst dressed people poll that Who Weekly magazine conducted.
That's right. I actually have a copy of the very 1992 Who Weekly magazine, which is available on the Champagne Comedy website if anyone wants to look, purely for, historical purposes. No copyright infringement intended. So this was the inaugural Best and Worst Dress for Who Weekly, and there was a special panel which actually looked at the photos and gave their various verdicts. The people on the panel this year included everyone's favourite reality show star Nolene Donaher, as well as multimedia bath mat aggro. You had Tanya Lacey, Shadwick's model manager Peter Shadwick. You had Melbourne celebrity hairdresser and tease Lillian Frank, ex-Noiseworks superstar John Stevens, and you had Leona Edmiston, one half of the Savvy Morrissey Edmiston designing duo. So they actually gave their own verdicts on the various celebrities and how badly dressed they were. But obviously Mick and Tony had some more savvy people on the street who were able to give some very succinct and memorable observations of the various clothes that people were wearing, such as Elton John, Danny Minogue, and and also there's some really classic quotes.
And also this person.
This is a great street talk.
What would you class as Australia's worst dressed person?
Bloody Jeff Kennett.
Well, listening to that should wild applause as well.
Yeah, I have seen that, I feel like, hundreds of times, and I'd laugh at it every single time because we all know what this is really about. The sort of almost immediate frustration upon his election amongst Victorians of Jeff Kennett and his policies, and just the anger this guy feels, and the way he delivers it and then just hisses off immediately.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, when I watched that today, I've always laughed at it, but I actually thought, God, I really feel his frustration, because even now the whole Jeff Kennett policy scarring is still feeling the effects, like the fact that he closed down an infectious diseases hospital, when we needed it 30 years later. Like, it's just insane. But yeah, it's great.
You're a true Melbourneite there, aren't you, Prue?
Yeah, totally. Even now, I'm feeling the rage.
And where did they actually film this? Because someone asked on the various
I'm
posts that I've
sure it's always Ackland Street, actually. I think one time I might have been confused and thought it was Glen Huntly Road, but I think it's always Ackland Street.
I went and had a listen to the DVD commentary, and they did say it was Ackland Street.
There you go. I've expanded my vocabulary in this sketch. Doyen, I had no idea when I watched it as a teenager what that meant, and schmutter. There you go.
How great!
He looks like a schmutter.
Yeah.
Too many parliamentary members.
Yeah, that guy who just sees a microphone and just a bit like the bloody Jeff Kennett guy. It didn't matter what the question was; he was going to get out his thing about having too many parliament members in state and federal governments.
Yeah. And also the guy who probably shouldn't have confessed that he would actually, wear the dress that Daryl Hannah had. Or was it Danny Minogue?
No, it was Daryl Hannah. I don't know if it was it looked a bit like the birth of Venus, but I don't know if it was based on that directly. But gee, it leaves nothing to the imagination.
Very suitable for a funeral.
I really like the woman with the weird shopping cart who's commenting on Susan Renouf. It's quite funny the way she said, she looks like she's put everything she owns on at once.
That's the best.
That is such a cutting remark.
Yeah.
It's one of the-
I think my favourite is the old woman, and they show her pictures of Elle Macpherson, and she says, "Yeah, she's all right," and she's kind of like a sort of like a Barry Humphries character, you know. She reminds me slightly of Sandy Stone. Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Sandy Stone. That woman, just the way that she speaks, and that sort of she's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, if anyone knows what schmutter, you know, what
he looks like it's such a.
It sounds like kind of like Jewish or Yiddish kind of slang, but anyway, if anyone knows what that means,
yeah, if you look it up, you Google it. It says worthless material or rubbish and clothing and garments in 1950s from Yiddish schmut, which means rag. So
it did sound very Yiddish,
disheveled, unkempt person,
which is incredibly harsh because the man is wearing nice brown slacks, a knitted vest, and a brown blazer. It's like, shit, mate, that is like 1,000% better than the way I wear things down Ackland Street.
And
but you're right, Alison, like there's so many great comedy-sounding voices and just humans that are amazing, like comedy characters. Like the guy who says, like they ask him, would you wear that? And he goes, not at all, not at any time.
Yeah.
It's interesting, it's different, it's way out.
It gives a lot of people pleasure. And then, would you wear that for a dare? Would you wear that for a dare? I probably would.
Just as a matter of fact.
We've got that outfit.
The woman who comments on Susan Renouf. I mean, that's
chicken talk. Yeah,
I mean,
and that sort of
this was a popular look, though. That kind of the parachute silk tracksuit, with the low high heels. You know that.
I remember Richard Sadler used to have a really great joke, which was all the baby parachutes that died to make that. I also really like the woman who, when she is asked, what do you think of Elton John? This is the Teen Queens one. And she goes, no, I don't like any of it. Oh, what don't you like? Oh, the pants, the boots there, the jacket.
Has to go. All.
Next segment.
Shirty, the slightly aggressive bear.
And to sum this one up, it's basically Shirty turning into the Terminator.
Yeah, what goes on in Shirty's mind? And apparently he's the Terminator.
Well, it was around the time when Terminator 2 had... it was Terminator 2 fever, really. When did that come out? Terminator 2 came out in 1991.
That was 92. 91.
Yeah.
91.
So, but everyone was still riding high on it, so it was very popular on the VHS routine. So,
Edward Furlong was still in all the TV hits.
Yes.
He was,
Yes. I had a poster of Edward Furlong on my wall.
Yep.
I remember thinking, he's only a few months older than I am. Maybe
he was around our age, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It was eligible. But remember he went out with Punky Brewster? This is all very fascinating conversation. Do not edit this out, by the way.
All right.
What? Hang on. Edward Furlong and Punky Brewster. That is a weird couple. That is a weird...
No,
I had an autographed card from Punky Brewster because I sent her a letter when I was a child and she sent it back. Salil Moon Fry.
Yeah. Wow, you look at the photo. Oh, God, they look all good.
Yeah, no, they look very much like they'd had a few party substances.
Yeah. So, Shirty, Terminator, and everyone was still in Terminator fever. There we go. So, now we have Grayman.
And so I was just going to say, on the screen it says the words "Hasta la vista, Miss Tammy," which I didn't know that was the name of the character that Jane plays.
I think it was, they mentioned Tammy at the very beginning or something like that, but I could never find it again when I've been trying to search it down for my notes. So I'm glad that you brought that up now. So if Shirty does appear again, but I'd like the chances of it like Spazfat. Oh, no, there is one more because I know that there's one that we haven't mentioned yet, but I'll explain that later. Spoiler alert. So, well, at least we know now that it will be Tammy, Miss Tammy.
Yep. And also they give Jane these very odd lines to cover all of the vision of Shirley as Robo Shirley looking at Miss Tammy talking about, I bet he thinks of honey and teddy bear picnics. It's just it's such weird writing, I've got to say.
Mm.
And also, Shirley's very schizophrenic, isn't he? I mean, one week he's groping Jane, feeling her right up. Now he's like putting her in his sights to kill her. Like it's tragic.
Well, now we've got Graham and the Colonel, and Spring Carnival comes to a close. Well done, Sub-Zero. Hooray! And finish him. And they're flummoxed. There's another one for the whiteboard.
Yeah,
flummoxed, and he's already gone grey, and it's 4 years old. So, well.
I think you need to break out the drums again for the news desk and Graham and the Colonel.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. So, all right, I've got that lined up.
Yeah, you'll certainly need these when we get to the camera functions bit.
Well, I will mention one thing. I do have the camera one here, which is Colonel. Was the official finishing photographer. All the photos came out all blurry though, and the horse's eyes came out all red because he used a flash, the Z-Tor camera. But I'm only playing this because of what happens behind in the background during this. So use your imagination, but then again, it's in the DVD.
You've got a top quality camera, Colonel.
The Z-Tor.
Oh,
the Z-Tor.
That's a magnificent piece of photographic equipment.
It's state of the art, isn't it? It's like the flash goes. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Just go through that flash thing again. Because some of the people weren't concentrating.
No, I just don't think they know what the Z-Tor is. Hey, hang on. They make cameras. They make... It's okay.
I'm about to bring up my dinner.
Wonderful to see the Melbourne Cup fashions making an appearance here on our show. Anyway, let's carry on. Where were we?
It'll be interesting to find where we actually were.
We were speaking of the Z-Tor.
The Z-Tor.
They are fine manufacturers of
They make tractors and cameras.
That's very good, and it'll be interesting to see.
You have a go. No. I'll hang back and let you...
I wonder where we get our parts now that the Soviet Union's broken up.
That was all because the Grim Reaper had walked behind him.
And according to the DVD commentary, they just pushed Michael Hirsch out in the Grim Reaper getup, and unbeknownst to Rob and Santo, and you can see the absolute genuine laugh in that. With Rob as Graham just absolutely keeling over.
Yeah, he just loses it.
He recovers very well though, doesn't he? And they carry the sketch, but when he does crack up, it is absolutely brilliant.
And so other parts of Graham and the Colonel are they're showing the tipping proof of the Melbourne Cup, and that's when they do the multiple takes. And the Adelaide Grand Prix for a street circuit, they get a good run with all the lights. So that was like...
I love the line from the Colonel. Adelaide comes alive, thank God.
Yeah, that was great.
There is a flummoxed in that one too.
That was the slogan. That was the slogan at the time, though. It was Adelaide alive, exclamation mark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yo! Way to go!
The delivery of that just really gets you, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's ramped up to 11.
Beautiful sarcasm there.
So other sports stories are congratulations to Lisa Onieki winning the New York Marathon. She was running second until the leader got mugged. But there's plenty of police. Barney Miller, Hill Street Blues, Cagney and Lacey. Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. Bill Clinton is, and here they go, off sport. Bill Clinton is president-elect, and we use the Westminster system. They use, the US uses balloon and streamer system for their elections. Yeah. And ABC's Picnic in the Park. Celebrities that may not be well known there, because they don't have their Ray Martins and Jan events. They got like the bloke from the movie show, which is John Hind. Hind. And, the guy who looks like the doctor from GP. I've always thought that. Clive Hale.
Clive Hale, yeah.
Because
you never saw a photograph of the two of them together, did you? So
no, especially when they played GP on After the News, when I think he would be hosting at the time or whatever like that. It's just like, how the hell does he do the news and then suddenly be a doctor? So,
yes.
Yeah, and the guy that used to be on 60 Minutes, which I got George Negus. So,
and it looked like there was a fourth photo there. I couldn't work out who they were apart from just being a couple of people, but they abandoned that. Either the fourth one wasn't a good enough joke or they'd run out of time.
I'd say they would have been running out of time because of what's coming up in the closing.
More stuff to do with Picnic in the Park.
They were in Parramatta. And
get out your whiteboards.
Yeah. So they were celebrating 60 years of the ABC at the time. Transport was a golf buggy, and then they had the investigators tent and also the holiday tent, which was, I guess, an ABC getaway type show at the time. I didn't do my research on that one.
Yeah, I remember Holiday, yeah.
And the Film Australia tent with Jane having a bit of a stab with Film Australia because they were displaying the latest screen successes and it was just an empty wall.
blank video screens.
Yeah. And the Friends of ABC tent. Which
was it a tent or a bad gazebo? Like it was about to fall over.
Yeah, and there's only like two people who were just hanging nearby it. And the ABC personality tent, which George Negus, Richard Morcroft, Tim Bowden, and Andrew Denton, and Rob was rubbing shoulders with him.
Can we talk about Richard Morcroft? I have no memory of him, but he's very handsome.
Newsreader?
Yeah.
He was a newsreader.
Oh, yeah, right.
If you Google, especially on YouTube, if you look up Ganga Jang, Hundreds of Languages, the music clip, that's pretty much a whole bunch of newsreaders from 1992, 1994, like that early era, because they got Anne Forward, Mary Costaglitis. I could be wrong with that.
Oh, Costaglitis.
Costaglitis,
yeah.
Yep. Richard Morcroft, Daryl Eastlake, and Jeff McMullen, and George Negus, and Stan Grant because of Real Life.
Yeah, right.
You watch that at a time, it's a time capsule of newsreaders and presenters of that era.
Good tip.
Yeah, Richard Morcroft also hosted later on in his life after he had finished up doing the news. He did Letters and Numbers on SBS.
Of course,
Yes.
that's how I know him. That's how I know him.
Yeah, and
Jane goes for a ride around in the golf cart with Paul from Sylvania Waters, who clearly isn't bothered by all the jokes they've been making about Sylvania Waters.
No. So this is another Sylvania Waters joke.
And it's like, hello, Rob and Jane alert, klaxon sounds, like massive.
Yes.
Massive section.
Yeah, Rob and Jane went together. Yes.
Finally, the conspiracy comes true in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember telling all my friends they're definitely going out together. Nobody believed me.
Oh, see, you proved them wrong there.
Yeah.
You knew.
5 babies later, I think I'm right.
Yeah. No, you're still with Tom and climb down classics. No.
Although I feel like we're neglecting the two big stars that were at the picnic in the park, B2 and Lulu the teddy bear.
Oh, yes.
And Jane didn't know who Lulu was.
Was B1 not there?
Yeah, what's with that?
Oh, he was dead, remember? Oh, wait, that was Mickey Mouse.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Chris, just a bit of a fun fact, Bananas in Pyjamas premiered the Monday after the Late Show episode 1, so both as old as each other.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
The only other thing to mention is the one crappy album cover, which they mentioned they've neglected for quite a few weeks.
The worst album cover, Tommy G holds up BT Express, Do It Till You're Satisfied, and BT being big trousers. So that was more of a visual joke if they zoomed in closer on the album cover. So that deserves a... but not a strong one.
Oh, is Steve really going to come on the show next time?
Yeah, sucked in, Steve. You're going to regret that.
Yeah, he's going to have to put his earplugs in.
Did anybody notice Tony Martin's sign-off at the end, by the way? It was sort of covered a bit by the applause, but he said, and I had to transcribe this, well, that's all the time we've got for. See you next week on The Late Show for cockfighting by candlelight.
Well, we've got We've got a credit for Michael Hirsch, of course. He's credited as audience stooge casting. So he picked all the people to what was it? It was the street theatre, wasn't it, where they had people yelling out different things they could act out, I think.
Well, if he picked the audience, he did an excellent job, because what a great audience.
Yep.
Now, also, there's a couple of other credits that are a bit out of the ordinary. There's one credit for Artist in Residence, Sharon West. Now, I'm not quite sure what that would have been in relation to directly. The only thing I can think of is those Clinton Gore signs in the Bill Clinton acceptance speech sketch looked quite hand-painted.
No, Artist in Residence doesn't refer to that medium necessarily. It can be a scriptwriter or, a dramaturg or anything. Like
maybe it's one step up from work experience.
No, it's a good position to have. An artist in residence is usually like a grant-funded position. We have them at our theatre, quite a few of them, and they usually go on to then be directors or writers themselves. It's a good thing to be.
Oh, cool.
It's unusual, though, to have an artist in residence in television, though, isn't it?
It is very weird.
Yeah.
But then maybe back in the 90s there just wasn't enough writing opportunities.
Yeah, it could be. I've just never seen it in television. I know it's a very common thing in the theatre world or, similar sort of organisations. But, yeah, never seen it in television.
Yep. And the other credit in there is choreography by El Guapo Dance Studios.
For the musical.
Yeah,
Life as a Musical. That would make sense.
So I don't know if that's an actual dance studio, but
El Guapo.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Three Amigos villain.
Yeah, it does.
It does a bit. They're probably the sort of Tony Bartuccio dancers equivalent where you get the choreographer and the dance troupe as well, because they were certainly a dance troupe that they brought in for that.
They're the very best dance studio that ABC money can buy.
They got a plethora of dancers.
I love it.
They couldn't afford the Tony Bartuccio dancers position.
All right, well, that wraps it up for Season 1, Episode 16 of The Late Show.
You forgot the audience tickets.
Sorry, Daniel did mention that, only a little bit of what Tony had said, the cockfighting by candlelight. The Grim Reaper reads out the audience tickets.
Yes.
Sorry.
With the wrong number.
yes, screws up the phone number.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, sorry.
No, thank you. So, that wraps up Season 1, Episode 16 of The Late Show, as well as this podcast as well, Episode 16. God, we're made it to 16. Hooray. So 4 more episodes left until you can get in your entries for them, your favourite quote, piss week competition type thing. We're just making it up as we go along. So, and we're getting more and more prizes, and we've got that extra entry. So send us all any feedback or whatever, champagnelateshow@gmail.com, or send us a tweet at TLSchampagne, as well as visiting our website, especially for the Who Best and Worst Dressed of 92 at champagnecomedy.com for review and critiquing purposes. That's what it's there for. And, Facebook, The Late Show. That's pretty much it. So, my name's Matt, and I just want to say thank you very much to Alison, Prue, Kim, and Daniel. There we go. It wasn't in the usual alphabetical order. Oh, I mixed it up. Thank you, guys.
See you later.
All right, catch you next time.
Bye. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Champagne Comedy Podcast, created by fans for the fans. For more information on this podcast, please visit champagnecomedy.com. Produced by Matt Fulton Productions, mattfulton.com.au.